So let's start the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee meeting for June 26th, 2025, and let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And it looks like everyone is here except for Mika. And I guess Summer Campbell is missing tonight. Would anyone like to take minutes for us, possibly? Oh. Then Summer is.
I'm used to taking minutes. I don't know. I'm not a good minute taker. I'm not going to take.
Do you have, is there an agenda that's been printed out?
Yep.
Onto which
I have an extra one here and you can just record.
oh, well, this is the agenda. Okay.
Right, you can just record who moves through a
Sure.
set of minutes, who seconds it, all in favor.
Okay. I'll take it on the,
And I don't think there are any other action items tonight, so it's
Okay.
really just the minutes. I appreciate it. Thank you, Gary. So everyone's present except for Mika or Mika. For the minutes, I'm so sorry to burden you guys, but there are some minutes that haven't been approved yet. And I know most of you were not at these meetings. So you can either abstain or approve if you'd like to. The first set of minutes is from May 15th. Did you have a chance to look at the typos I caught on those minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Move to approve.
any other changes that you caught? All right, so
you were very effective in reading through the minutes.
so Jim moves to approve as amended. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Brooks seconds. All in favor? Okay, thank you so much. That's set one. And now we have February 5th minutes. And again, there were some typos. Some of the numbers recorded, I checked and they needed to be corrected.
To
So,
approve as amended.
and can we get a second?
Second.
Brooks will second.
That
And
makes
I'll-
my minutes easier if you.
That's how, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. And then we have January 16th. Again, we
approve.
butchered
I second.
Matthew's name or BA's name. Any other changes? So all in favor? Thank you so much. And then finally, we have January 9th. And again, there were some typos that I caught. So
Move to approve.
move
As
to
amended.
approve as amended and
I second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. So that takes care of that. And the next agenda item is the budget calendar, which our business administrator will present tonight. Does everybody have a copy or did you review it at all? This is the school board's calendar.
Correct. It is a school board. So
Where did we see that?
it was linked to Pam's agenda.
I have a copy, Terry, if you'd like
You
it.
can make copies too if we need to.
Yeah, I don't need that copy, so.
Is it?
No, it's actually,
It was attached to one of
That's fine.
your.
it was embedded in the email, but if you don't have it with you,
I do not, and I do not see it.
did everyone have a chance to peek at it
Mm.
at all? It is available, but if you'd like, I can resend it to you. But go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the dates and events on there that don't necessarily pertain to this group. So I'm just going to cover the ones that you'll want to star, maybe put on your calendar. Just that way, your long-term planning, you know what days to set aside. There will be some additional budget committee meetings that Pam will share with you that are not on this calendar. What I did is I took last year's calendar, obviously cut and pasted it, but then looked ahead looked at some possible changes. It's not final yet because the DRA, the Department of Revenue, hasn't, they don't, I think it's sometime over the course of the summer, they finalize any changes in dates. But most of the um, requirements in here are based on state statute. The first date of note is probably August 20th. That's the first school board meeting of the new school year. That will, the DOE 25, which is really the same as the MS 25. One goes to the DOE, one goes to the DRA, the Department of Revenue. That will be presented, and that's important because that's when the unassigned fund balance will be presented. So that's when we'll know how much is returned to the taxpayers. That'll offset taxes, help keep the taxes flat.
Right.
Yep. Terry?
Yeah, well, I've been on the committee for a couple of years, but I know that we have some new folks here. Could you explain just really quickly what unassigned fund balance is?
Yep. It's really the surplus, the what's remaining in our current budget. We're coming up, the fiscal year ends Monday, June 30th. And at that point, there's going to be a chunk of money that we have not spent, chunk of funds, and that gets returned to the taxpayers. So whatever that is, that's the unassigned fund balance.
Will we be getting a list of any encumbrances?
Yes, those will be available. Absolutely. Yep. My predecessor will give them to you, but those are certainly available. And I've been giving them to like the finance committee every month. I give them to the finance committee. Yep.
And then
Oh, yeah. Right.
So this is
Yep.
the truncated
And
version.
and
It's
this
truncated version.
is different from this?
This is kind of a truncated, this is like,
Same that we just passed.
Yeah.
Truncated, got it,
Oh, yeah. All right.
Was that enough for everybody over there?
got it.
This is our version. This is where we have our important meetings coming up this fall. It's not, doesn't include all the dates on the school board's calendar, but it's the ones that are relevant to our meetings. So.
you want me to go through the school boards, then we can talk about the budget? Yeah.
Go ahead and mention some of the dates that are.
Yeah.
coming up.
So in terms of the school board's calendar, after that August 20th school board meeting, September and October, it's really for the district, the buildings and the school administration to focus on building the budget, the proposed budget. And then on November 5th, that's when the superintendent will present the proposed budget to the school board and to you folks and the community. There is one typo there that again, this is a draft calendar, but on November 5th, it says school board and budget committee meet with principals and department heads. You can cross that off. That's happening on the 13th, the following week. It was actually listed twice on the 5th and the 13th. I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll fix that on the final calendar that gets approved in October or September.
So delete the 5th.
On the 5th, just delete meeting with principals on the 5th.
Oh, I
The
see.
5th will happen.
Yes, that's great. I was wondering
Yeah.
about that.
Right. So the superintendent presents on November 5th, and then a week later, 8 days later, on November 13th, which is a Thursday, that's when you folks in the school board get to meet and kind of do speed dating with the administrators, ask questions about their budgets. You'll have had 8 days to look at them. You can ask questions about their needs, wants, wishes, what they've requested. The following Monday is when questions are due. Those go to the business administrator, who then has about a week to turn those around. In terms of meetings, the December 3rd school board meeting is when the school board recommends a budget to the budget committee. And the following night on December 4th, that's when this committee debates the budget, discusses the budget. So December 4th is definitely a night you want to put on your calendar. And I know this past year, the budget committee voted and approved the budget on that, the equivalent to that date. It wasn't the 4th, it was probably the 3rd or the 5th, whatever the opposite would be. But if the budget committee can't come to a decision on the 4th, then the 11th would be the next meeting. But again, December 11th is tentative. It depends upon what happens on the night of the 4th. So you may want to star the 11th as a TBD. So from there, we move into January. January 8th is the night that this committee plans for the budget hearing. The slides that are going to be presented, who's going to present what. And then a week later, on Thursday, January 15th, that's when the public hearing is in the, was it in the auditorium? I feel like it was in the auditorium.
We had it in here last year.
Yeah, we
but The
did.
deliberative was in the.
Right, the deliberate, okay, yep. In the event of snow on January 15th, then January 20th would be the snow date. There's statutory requirements that require that snow date to be, by January 20th. So it couldn't be kicked out a whole week. And a lot of the statutes are listed there. So yeah, I would definitely put January 15th as something on your calendar, and then the 20th as a possible snow date. If everything goes well there, February 4th is the deliberative session. That'll be in the auditorium. It's where the budget is presented to the community. And after that, it's really just goes to the vote. From there, after the deliberative, we start work on the warrant articles. The business office puts those together, and yeah, those are kind of the big key dates from the district perspective. But I know Pam's put together some other dates for this committee to do some.
So he
work.
just highlighted all the important dates that we have on my version of our calendar here. These are all Thursdays unless otherwise noted, just so you know. Hopefully you can get to a Wednesday, or the off dates are Wednesdays. So hopefully those work for you. Okay, so any questions about the calendar? There's work we do at home, so don't think this is all you're going to be doing is attending meetings. That's not going to happen. We have some preparation to do before the meetings. Okay, now, so that covers the agenda item draft calendar and proposed budget committee meeting dates, which you have on that sheet. Now Dan Doyle is generously offering to give us guided tours of the facilities, and it's pretty interesting. So
It's very interesting, yes.
I'm not sure who wants to go, this month or next month, but we need to decide on a date so that we don't have multiple tours. We can all meet together.
Dan's email, Pam?
Could
I
email
have it.
One more time again. Who is Dan Doyle?
Dan's our facility director. So well, I've learned that Mr. Doggett knows a lot about our facilities too. But Dan, in terms of district personnel, has the most comprehensive understanding of our facility needs, issues. I've worked very closely with him. His office is 2 doors down from mine. And with our aging infrastructure, it's almost daily he's coming to me with an issue that needs to be addressed. And he's terrific. So and I spoke to him. He's more than happy to meet and do tours with you guys. So
Let me email Dan and ask him if he'll be away for vacation for certain weeks. And once I find that out, I'll let you know when we could possibly meet with him.
Okay.
And then you can indicate what would be a good day if we can all meet. We usually meet in the late afternoon, like 5 o'clock. And we do one building per tour, so we wouldn't be going to all the buildings. We'd actually do Memorial, Bakey, and then middle school, high school, like be 3 tours. So
The tours are very, very informational.
They
They are.
are, because
A
the
lot.
refrigeration, I remember in Bakey, that was pretty interesting, really antiquated.
Mhm.
Or you learn, even though we're only renting Swayze for $1, we maintain it though. So, which is,
Yeah.
it's great. We need the facility. We need it for, athletics and things, but you'll see when you get in there that there's some expenses. It's not a building that's just, maintenance free. There's,
It never was.
it never was, I know. My dad played basketball there in the early 60s, so he came over from Monadnock to play basketball over there. So yeah, I took him there for a game once. He was fond memories.
Okay, so public comment. I do not see anyone tonight here to make a comment. So we'll move on to committee comment. I just wanted to go over a couple of documents with you before we leave tonight. First of all, reminders to you all, please do not respond to any of my emails because it would violate state law if there's quorum on an email batch and we start talking to each other. We have to have these meetings publicly noticed. So we cannot be talking with each other through daisy chain emails. So please don't do that. And also, I strongly recommend you use your SAU email account and not your personal, because if there's a right to know request and you've used your personal email, they can actually request your personal email account. So be careful of that. And also social media, please take care when using social media like Facebook. I only go on Facebook if I need a plumber or I need yard work done. So that's probably a wise strategy, and just use common sense. And we've all said things that we maybe wish we hadn't, but an apology goes a long way. So if you say something on Facebook, just think about maybe apologizing, and if you want to do that. Okay, so for this summer, I gave you a sheet that has some budget research ideas. And it looks kind of like this. Mine's longer, but it says budget research over the summer. So usually what happens is we come in the fall and they present us a proposed budget, and we kind of are looking at that, but we're not being proactive and doing our own research. We just take their budget and we kind of pick it apart a little bit, and then we say, okay, this looks fine. So I'd like to actually do some research during summer, if possible, to get some ideas and get some data going into these discussions so that we can actually recommend changes rather than taking what is given to us and accepting it. I don't know if you saw the video I sent to you showing the public comment session at the school board meeting and that stress that was going on. You could tell at that meeting where people were taking the mic and they were concerned about a lot of things, including reduction in enrollment and what's going to happen to programming. And, we lose students. We're going to have fewer students per course. So we may lose specific classes and specific activities for students. And then Fremont students are leaving starting the fall that we're looking at for the budget. So it's pretty stressful, all right? You can see that, and people are upset. But I just want you to know that I have been going to meetings in Concord, and the community college system in New Hampshire and the universities are having the same exact problem. They actually got a 10% cut in their budget. The universities did from, let me see if I have it here. Well, I took notes, but 97 million this year. They're going to be reduced to 87 million for next year. They all have enrollment declines happening. This is not just K-12s, it's the universities as well. It's happening nationwide. It's happening across New Hampshire. So the watchword I heard people talking about during this testimony was consolidating. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about if we have universities offering the same programs across 3 campuses, then we need to consolidate and combine them into one campus. So if a student wants to major in specific field, offer it at one university and not all of them, or one community college. And hopefully that would be a good way to continue offering diverse courses, but we have to deal with declining students in our institutions, and that's the problem. You understand? Okay, so I hope we can retain our programs, but I'm just wondering, for example, if surrounding high schools offer a bowling program, for example, and we only have 3 students interested, could we possibly combine our program with,
I mean, lots of programs combine, and our hockey team combines with other
Right.
schools. So why not?
and maybe
Other-
save on transportation costs
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
So we've got to think about innovations that can protect our programming, but deal with a declining number of students. And I also gave you a table. Oh, it's this one. It says class size on the front.
Mhm.
That is the school board policy regarding class size. So our policy is that, I have a short version. The district will make every effort to limit class size to 18 students in kindergarten, 20 in grades 1 through 3, and 25 in grades 4 to 12. So we do have a specific size of class that we're looking at. And if it drops below, I don't know, 7 or 8 students, that's a problem for retention of that course. I guess many courses are being staggered. They're offered every other year, example.
Yep.
So the students can still take the course, but there's a delay until they have enough students to make it worthwhile and efficient to offer that class. On the next page, you can see this is from a recent presentation. It was this year.
It was last November, right?
It was this past year's
Yeah.
budget meeting, but proposed budget presentation. And it says anticipated enrollments and class sizes. So it shows Bakey's enrollments, memorials, middle school, high school, and the estimated class size on the far right for the high school, that's the average class size, I guess, of 18. You can see there. So that's below 25, but we need to be careful that we're not offering courses that just aren't filling. There's one that has particularly bothered me for years. It's the history of rock and roll. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just thinking that's something you could take later, maybe in community college or as a directed study, perhaps. So there are a few courses that, I don't know, it seems are inefficient to continue with, but that's really up to the school board. So what I would like to do is this summer, for my research idea, is to not just get average class sizes, but I'd like to look at the past year's actual class sizes for all of our courses and see how much they filled. Because I know we got that a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and that was pretty interesting. And perhaps the size for each classroom as well for all grades. That's something that would be helpful to know. I do know that the Seacoast Classical Academy in Newton that is leasing space from us is interested in additional space. And if we have space in Memorial, for example, we could generate revenue by leasing another 1 or 2 classrooms to them. We have lost 72 students this past year to Seacoast. So they have been getting additional students, but we just have to, use our capacity efficiently if we have excess capacity. And then on the other side of the blue page, you can see the declining enrollment, which will continue as Fremont students graduate over time. So the last 4 bars over here on the right. So what will happen as the Fremont students continue to leave our high school. So going back to my research page, my budget research this summer.
Pam, can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
The 2025-2026 school year that's coming up, this will be the first year there's not a freshman group coming in from Fremont, correct?
This year is the last year they're
Last
coming in.
year they're coming.
Last year, they are coming in.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So the budget we're planning for is the one where we're gonna lose the freshmen from Fremont.
Gotcha. Got it.
Exactly. Yep.
So this was created last November,
Yes.
correct? How accurate is this? I'm looking at, now, at the very last numbers over here. So we're losing, we know we're losing Fremont.
Right.
And we're seeing here that our enrollment across the 4 schools is only going down by 15 students. Now, I understand that we're still going to get some freshmen coming in from Fremont, but is this?
This already reflects SCA leaving. And so where's the 15 you're talking?
No, I'm looking at the very last column, all schools. Actual, what projected for 25
Yep.
is 1,202.
Because
15 students.
as of last fall, well,
And this was.
Fremont's
last
still
fall-
here.
Fall's
Fremont's
projection.
still here this fall. So last fall, this was assuming
Yes.
Fremont still sent all their kids this year. And the number of kids going to the charter school SCA didn't increase and stayed around 70 for K-8.
So
yeah.
in your opinion, these numbers are accurate, even though they're clearly.
Or
Assuming Fremont sends all the kids that were in 8th
weren't
grade
there.
last October 1st, assuming they all come to 9th grade this fall, and nobody else in our community decides to send their kids
Their kids to the
SCA.
academy.
Now, if people, and I don't know, I'm making this up. A lot of people are really happy with SCA and more people want to go and more kids attend that. And then Fremont doesn't send as many kids as
Hmm.
they have historically.
Is there no way to get a more accurate estimate of this kind of projection? I mean.
This
we're-
is actually,
the first of
this was
July.
actually the data this is the data that's shared with the state of New Hampshire on October 1st. That's why it was putting this.
First.
That's like
Yeah.
October 1st is the date. That's like what your attendance date is based on. Is that October 1st enrollment that goes to state of New Hampshire. That's why your funding's based on everything. So that's why they use that data.
There's no way to get, even if it's anecdotally, there's no way to get more accurate numbers.
We
than
should
that?
be able to get
Yeah, we could.
updated information. Yes.
Well, I was just gonna say, can we have it updated because we're working on the 26-27 budget?
Yes.
And therefore, the 30 students from Fremont
30.
should be disappearing from the number of students that we are preparing a budget to cover.
Exactly.
Right.
So where are
Yeah,
you
the
seeing?
budget that you're producing is
Right. This
It's about 30.
They're anticipating for this fall.
Yeah, nearly a year.
Yeah.
That budget was.
but this was for the current year's budget.
Yeah, yeah.
This was produced for the
Mhm,
fiscal year 26 budget.
mhm.
That's why, but what you guys are tasked with doing is
The
the
next-
27 budget,
Yes.
Right.
which doesn't have Fremont freshmen.
And wouldn't it be much better for us to try to make accurate predictions if
We'll
we
be
had more accurate
Information
here?
Yeah.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of showing you the kind of numbers we'll be looking at and the class sizes and so forth. So we kind of know what we're going to be examining, but we do need updated information. That's correct.
So when I'm sure when the superintendent presents the budget in November, it's going to show that it'll be it's not going to be this one because this was last year's.
Updated version.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be that. Yeah, yeah. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, and those conversations happened at the board level last year. It was, there's going to be tough decisions down the road unless something fills that gap with declining
This
enrollment.
particular chart makes it look as though there's no big gap.
Well, there wasn't for this year. Because remember, this is almost a year old now.
So we lost 72 students to the academy and
That's reflected in here. That's in here. Those 72 they've been taken out. Yeah, this is accurate for
but
what it's showing. Yeah.
The important number to see will be the fact that this year they're graduating in 2025, 26, 113 seniors. In 3 years' time, we're only looking at 92 seniors.
92.
And that number is going to drop even further because
Well,
We also have we have the dip in our enrollment too. The current, let me think, this is 20. So this coming year's 10th grade is a small class. Kingston and Newton had that really small class. I was a middle school principal when they came through. They had 60 kids in the class, not 100. It was like 90 or 100, and that one class had 60 something. So there's that blip that's going through too. It shows in 10th grade for the fall.
Right, I see that.
Yeah. You've got a couple things there.
Yeah.
do we not know how many students are going to be coming to the high school in the 9th grade?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
their classes are all done. They've
6 weeks?
yeah, their classes are all set, the schedules are done. Yeah.
Is it 113?
I could find out. I mean, I don't build that. That's at the building level, and that's up to Miss Mitchison and Miss O'Brien and the high school staff, but it's done.
Well, we'll get the information anyway. So that's what we're geared toward.
Administration works all summer, so if you guys need the numbers, we can get them. It's not.
If there's any information you'd like to see, then just email me because I plan to meet with people this summer. And
Yeah, Pam's right on. Like she's trying to do homework in the summer. So these questions are good, Terry. So if you, and especially in the summer in general, because I've been a building administrator, you have more time. So like if someone says, can you get X, Y, and Z data for me? Usually the answer is yes, because I'm not running a building and, dealing with a whole assortment of issues. So, yeah.
right. Well, I'll try not to bug them too much, but I want to meet with Dawn and a few other people. And then when it comes to the curriculum, item 2, I'd like to look at if we have a very low enrollment in some of the high school courses. I'd like someone to go through the VLAX course offerings online and see which of our courses are offered at VLAX, so that we can just make sure that if there is a need to provide a course that we understand there's an option for students. So, and VLAX is free. I teach online. It's pretty fun. It's not as scary as it sounds like. You can actually, it depends on how you teach the course, but somebody might want to take that task on. That would be great.
actually the VLAX curriculum is fairly closely aligned with the Sanborn, since all the people that created VLAX were Sanborn employees
Hmm.
that got together, created VLAX, and then
That's good to know. I didn't know that. That's great. Yeah. And before I move on, I also gave you this last handout, which looks like this little handout. We should be looking at which programs have been cost effective and produced improved scores. I know we have a reading program to assist students to accelerate reading skills, which was critical, something we really wanted to emphasize. And also the math program's been modified. Hopefully that'll help the students with their math scores. But we're not really focused on test scores in this committee. We're focused on spending, but we want to make sure the spending is effective. So we may want to, when we meet with the department heads, ask them, has this program worked out? How have the scores improved? Have they improved at all? Because if we have a program we're spending
Yeah.
money on and it's not working, we should.
I think the initial results are looking positive for the new programs. Like some of the spring test scores at Memorial are outstanding. Like some of the grades are scoring way above the state average. So I don't have the data, and it's that should be presented by the school board in the fall. So, or to the school board, to the community in the fall. But from what I'm hearing, you know,
Be happy.
yeah, because yeah, when you spend money on programs, you hope that they work. So, right. I was a high school teacher. I was an elementary. So, um,
Right. So if you look at the right side of this page, it says definition of student success. Graduates from the district will have knowledge, skills, and wayfinding abilities. If you go down to part 3, will demonstrate success in 2 or more of the following indicators. So when I was on school board, we designed a series of indicators, and it's like a menu of choices. So if a student's going into the military, they can take the Armed Services battery of tests to demonstrate competency in their skills, leaving high school as a graduate. They may be going to college, so the SAT would work. They can take dual enrollment college courses. So a lot of students, I'm going to be honest with you, at Sanborn do not take the SAT seriously. They're asked to take it, but they're really, not really excited about it, and they go through the motions. So the scores you might see on the DOE website might be disappointing. However, they may really come through with these other tests. And as I understand it, 80% of them have actually succeeded when you look at the other options that they've been using. You see. And so when people start hammering me about test scores, I say, well, you don't understand. We actually have a really nice way to allow students to demonstrate proficiency in many ways. So I just thought I'd give that to you so you have it. And then back to my budget research over summer document. Athletic student clubs and activities. We've got a lot of clubs and activities. I know that these are important because kids have a lot of excess energy and you want to keep them out of trouble. And the best way to do it is to give them extra stuff to have fun with. And so I'm not recommending any cuts, but I wouldn't mind seeing participation rates for the past year. If we have a club that has only 1 or 2 students, to me, it might be, and if an employee, such as a teacher, is getting a stipend for a club with 2 people in it. I'm just.
yeah, the labor management committee monitors that. So the HR director can help you with that data.
Okay,
They actually review the applications and the requests for clubs.
that would be great.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for volunteers. If anybody says, oh yeah, I'd really like to look into that, feel free to put your hand up at any time. But I do want to look at some of these myself. And then part 4, administrator and counselor consolidation. So I had notes written down that I took during the concert session. And I now can't find the piece of paper. Anyway, that's fine. I do know that the American School Counselor Association puts out a recommended ratio of students to counselors, and it's 250 to 1. And I believe we had fewer than 250. And I believe that was recommended by the board, but I'd like to take a look at that again as well.
Yeah,
To see if
I know there
maybe
was-
we still need the same number of counselors for the coming 26 year. Benefits, again, that's not my field, but if anyone has an expertise in HR and health insurance and you have any ideas for ways to reduce costs, we'd like to hear those. Special education, I'm going to meet with our special ed director. Special education costs are 1/4 of school budgets. Of every $4, $1 is spent on special ed. It's in complete chaos right now. So that's my budget. That's my committee in Concord. We do not know if districts are billing Medicaid, if the student qualifies for Medicaid, because some of the disability services could be covered by Medicaid and not the taxpayers locally. But some of these districts are not billing because the coding's hard for Medicaid. There's this huge amount of coding you need to learn to bill Medicaid. And so I'm going to talk to our director about that and see if we're actually billing Medicaid for reimbursements. They also do not have a specific price for, say, a speech therapist that is a reasonable cost per hour. A lot of districts just pay whatever they're billed for special ed. So we're trying to identify what is a reasonable range of prices. Sometimes they'll bill the taxpayers for special ed for a speech therapist who has been driving for 2 hours because it's a remote town.
Mm.
And they'll bill for the driving time too, but we don't really know because they're not breaking it down. So there are problems here, is all I'm saying. We need to be more efficient with special ed dollars. So I'll be looking into that. Legal expenses related to the Bakey School legal case. I have been concerned about that all year. I'd like to know what the costs look like and how they'll look for the coming year and then for 2026. Utilities and facilities, not my area, but if anyone's interested in looking into that for us, like to see if we're gonna save. I understand we'll get savings, but it's long run, not short run. For the Siemens audit.
Well, the phase one, the savings as it was presented, it hasn't not been approved by the board yet.
Okay,
The savings would cover the cost. So let's say you spent, and I think the number was, let's say you spent $300,000 a year on electricity and you put in all new LED lights and you save $100,000 a month. Well, instead of giving $100,000 a month to Unitil, you're going to give it to whoever's financing it. So you're still spending $300,000, but you're getting all new lighting that can be
right, and once
dimmable.
those costs are covered and we pay off
Yeah.
the investment, then the cost should fall.
Right. Now that was phase one. There are other phases coming where, like, for instance, the boilers in this building are 20 years old. They're gonna be failing probably within 5 years or so, and that's a major expense. So there's other phases that might require warrant articles and not just, because you're not gonna save enough money just to cover it with,
Sure.
you're not gonna reduce your oil consumption with new boilers and pay for it with that. But those are future questions. Those are future conversations. Not now, not at this point.
Right, but this is a savings. It's more efficient for us, so.
Yeah.
And then the last item would be technology costs, which, I know Shane, that's your field. So you might want to meet with Gordon, at some point, just to see what he plans for 26, 27. And you guys can geek out and I'm sure you'll understand what he's saying, but where I would not at all. There are documents that you can look at if you're interested. There's the high school program of studies, which is online, lists all the courses offered. So that's where you could compare VLAX courses with our course offerings in the high school. See if there's any way we could save money by encourage students. Not all students learn well online, but there might be an option. You also,
I can try reviewing that and see what I come up with on that.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Can help you if you want. My daughter's actually in VLAX.
Oh,
VLAX
does she
regularly.
like it?
Yeah,
I
we've
guess
used
it
it.
depends on the course, but
Yeah, and the high school honestly does for certain courses encourage it. She's going into a freshman, and it was actually encouraged to take health and PE over the summer on VLAX, which is what she's doing right now. But I
Oh,
will
okay,
say the
that's-
high school isn't. Their counselors are encouraging it for certain courses.
yeah, that it's improving as as teachers get more experience, they get better at it. So this is what you want to look at. I can send you the link so you can check out the courses.
Okay.
And also the annual report, this is the latest, the 2024 annual report is something that has a lot of information in it. And it also has the salaries of all of the employees,
Mhm.
which brings me to,
And that's on the website. If anybody wants to see the electronic copy, that's on the website under district information.
right, but it's in this booklet. I think Phyllis may have copies if you'd like one.
Yeah, Phyllis has copies for sure. Yep.
There
For the
are
ath-
also copies in the Newton Town Hall.
Oh, okay. I don't know if Kingston has copies, but I can check. So again, for athletics and student clubs, you can just click on the website. You got to look, around a bit, find the listing. And we got the financial audit, which we're out of now, but
Well-
it mentions legal liabilities, which I kind of looked right at. I'm thinking, okay, that sounds like something we should keep an eye on. As they acknowledge.
Yeah, the audit was finalized in March. It's also in your budget committee drive. So if you go to the budget committee drive, you're going to see under this year, you'll see it in there. I listed it, and you've got the audit, you've got the governance letter and the maintenance, management letter. So it's all right there. You don't, we only had 10 copies and I gave them out to the board, superintendent, and 10 copies doesn't go very far, but it's all right in your drive, right in your Google Drive.
They mentioned unpaid meals in their letter. Is that something that we've resolved or?
No, that's, I talked to BAs this year. It's a problem everywhere. I think a lot of families got used to not paying for meals during the pandemic, and then post-pandemic, some people haven't started paying again. So I think from day one in the fall or week one, the principles, because really the policy is very clear. I should give you the policy, Pam, just to look it up. But letters should be going home, reminding families. It also gets people who qualify for free and reduced to apply, and then, then we get aid.
Category.
So, right. But a lot of times when families get a letter, they're like, oh, I gave little Johnny $100, but he spent it on chips and cookies. He didn't actually, put it towards his meal debt. So then that actually happens. So,
Read 25% of SNAP food assistance is spent on empty calories and junk food. So there's been discussion in Concord about kids coming to school in the morning hungry. And I feel that maybe if SNAP was spent more wisely instead of on soda and ice cream, then the kids might be coming to school less hungry.
yeah.
That might be a starting place. But anyway.
But every district I talk to BAs, they're the big districts, Rochester,
They all have.
they have like $500,000 deficits, whereas ours is five figures,
Right.
I don't know, 50.
How are these, how are the debts relayed to the parents?
Emails, letters, especially at the high school level when it comes time for graduation, phone calls.
How is payment made?
It can be any form, check, cash, my school bucks, like
But it has to be
online.
sent into the administration building?
No, it can be online through my school bucks.
All right, so
Yeah.
they can be done online?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make sure that there was an easier way for.
Yeah,
parents.
not just, like
Okay.
writing a check, because not everybody has checkbooks anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I looked up cost per pupil in New Hampshire for 2024. Average cost is 20,323. Cost per pupil Sanborn School District is not 20,000, but $24,035. So we do have a gap here. There's many reasons for that happening, but I'd like to try and see if we can become more efficient this budget cycle. Okay, and the only other thing I have tonight is we have procedural guidelines for our committee that were drafted years ago. They were supposed to be reaffirmed every 2 years, and it has been 5 years. So
Okay.
I will send them out to you, see if I can recommend any changes, and we can approve the revised guidelines at our meeting.
Okay.
Which Next.
When were they approved?
2019, it looks like. December 29th. Tried to get them revised last
No,
year
I was one of the last people probably.
to work on the draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that called? To approve what,
It's the procedural guidelines for the school budget committee. And it's not very interesting. It just talks about, officers and duties and so forth. But I'll send you the current draft and we can look at it, see if we want to make any changes. So our next meeting is going to be on the 4th. Now, we're in committee comments. Would anyone like to make any comments or?
Can I just throw out some concerns? Well, first of all, I watched the YouTube videos that you, especially the ones that you suggested with comments, the committee, community comment. I really take umbrage at people over 75 don't know how to use online, and we couldn't possibly send out notices that way, so I'd love to go.
Thank you for
Anyway,
bringing
but
that
was-
up.
But I'm very concerned, as are many of those parents. Where are we finding $500,000 to pay off the superintendent? And where are we in getting a new superintendent? And a new principal and a new vice principal? And how many teachers? And where is this process? And are we involved at all? Do we get to know any of this? There was one particular parent who was extremely upset about no communication. There is no transparency, that no one knows what's going on. Do you know anything, or can we get to know something more of what's going on with this?
Well, I did notice during that meeting that I think it was Mika who suggested he would be happy to get together with teachers, parents, and other stakeholders on a regular basis to discuss what's happening. I have no idea what's going on with a superintendent search, but I do believe the state laws indicate that districts do not actually have to have a superintendent. They just have to perform the duties of the superintendent. So maybe there's a way to have someone part-time but it's really the board's decision, but I'll try to find out information.
So where is this large sum of money going to come from? From which budget is this? And how is that going to be appropriated? And don't we have some say in this?
I will make,
I mean, I know everything, I could answer all these questions or try to, but I don't feel like I mean, it's really a board.
All
I feel like
right.
you need to reach out to the board. They'll share it with you. Yeah.
I will meet with Dawn and ask her, the chair Dutton, and I'll ask her what's going on with,
And please reinform them that most people age 75 and over do know how to
Thank you.
read,
Thank
statements
you.
online. They're quite.
So any other comments from?
I do.
committee?
So Matt, you're leaving your position. Is somebody else already going to be taking over?
I mean, I'm not involved with replacing myself. Supposedly, I've heard that there are two candidates who are
Okay,
being
so they
considered at the
haven't
moment.
finalized anything.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I know that, and this goes to your question. I mean, Dr. Dawson has been filling in for
Yes, I knew that.
Superintendent Ambrose since he's resigned. So the chair has been, temporarily filled, if you will, by an interim. So Bob's been working, Dr. Dawson's been working on that.
Okay.
He's at a superintendent conference right now and was emailing. So I'm hoping that maybe as early as tomorrow, he has a name
Okay.
of someone who
Sounds
can
good.
fill the position and has experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one last comment I had, which was when we were talking about meeting dates for the budget committee, I had made a comment before the meeting had started that maybe we should consider different days to accommodate Pam where she wouldn't potentially be able to make some of the Thursday meetings because of her state duties. I wanted to see if there was any availability from other members for Tuesdays.
I agree that Tuesday is a better day for my calendar personally.
I can do Tuesdays.
Tuesdays are fine.
I think there are a couple of Thursdays on that, if because you guys meet other than what's on there. So
Right.
there are some Wednesdays and Thursdays on the district one that have I wouldn't change those yet.
Leave the calendar as is for now, because the real action happens in the spring.
Okay.
After we voted, basically. There are some meetings I have to go to early in, the year, but most of it's later in the year, so I should be okay.
Okay.
And also, we need the minutes from the candidate interviews, which I believe Summer's going to prepare for us because she was here during the interviews. So we should approve those at our next meeting in September 4th. And I think that's all I have for you tonight. Is there any other comments you'd like to make tonight? And as far as my list of research items, if anyone would like to volunteer to help specialize with some of these, that would be great. And Summer Campbell, our secretary, is not here tonight, but she was elected the student member of the school board. So we want to congratulate Summer. It's awesome.
Good.
Yep, she's gonna be governor soon. Okay, so I guess that's it for tonight. Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you so much.